Got the old motor off the stand, finally. So one thing I've been working on, I was gonna run basically like a conversion flywheel that's a little thicker. It's a Sachs 1050 flywheel, but after doing some research and kind of going through this bell housing fiasco, I went through this company, tried to get a bell housing through them that has the provision for the LS, basically oil pan bolts. And it's a 621 type bell housing, cast aluminum. And then after doing a bunch of research, basically that bell housing is about a 1/2 inch too long, so you don't get that much engagement on the input shaft. And then since they were out of stock of the LS style one, the other option was to get basically a scatter shield. So that's basically what I did. I got a QuickTime scatter shield, and that, given that this is a 1/2 inch shorter than the 621 bell housing, you can then run a normal flywheel. So that's why I got this flywheel, nice billet flywheel, and then also the scatter shield, because I am obviously planning on probably upgrading this thing in the future and want to make sure I have a good setup and I'm all protected. Basically the scatter shield protects you if the flywheel ever blew up, and obviously the billet flywheel is a lot better than that Sachs 1051 that's cast iron. So I'm basically working on getting this all onto the engine, and then what I'll be doing is checking the concentricity or the run out of the crank to that scatter shield. So once I get this all on there, I'll show you what it looks like and kind of how I'm checking basically that these two holes are concentric. All right, one thing I want to mention, I basically got these ARP flywheel bolts. What it says is just to put this fastener lubricant on there, but since these actually go through on these LS cranks, you definitely want to put sealant on the thread. So I wouldn't follow their instructions on there, otherwise you're going to have oil that basically can come through and start leaking down. So I'm going to put some anaerobic on these. It also will act kind of as a Loctite agent, obviously not as strong as something like red Loctite, but definitely follow my instructions on there. You don't want the oil coming out of there. All right, ladies and gents, so I got my dial indicator in here. Obviously scatter shield is on there, and basically what I'm doing is checking the center line of the bell housing, making sure it's aligned with the center line of the crankshaft. So what you do is basically put your dial indicator in here, make sure it's normal obviously to this surface, and then turn it around until you find the highest spot, which came out to be this one. And then you go around in 90-degree increments and write down the measurement that comes out. So I got -12 here, -6 here, and -11 here. So the difference in between these two marks is basically the worst case. So obviously it's around 12 thousandths, or not 12 thousandths, 11 thousandths in between these. Divide it by 2, because that's where you get your center. You're changing the radius basically. And the clearance really should be around 0.005 or 5 thousandths, and I'm getting around 0.055 thousandths. So I think I'm close enough. I posted on a Facebook group, see what people say, if that 5/100 thousandths would be an issue. But if it is, then you basically take these dowel pins out of the engine, and they make offset dowel pins that just shift it over a little bit into the right location. So I'm gonna probably put this on hold for now. Obviously I still need to paint the engine bay before I put that in here, so I have a little bit of time, and I'm gonna circle back to working in here. Kind of hodgepodging this video together, but doing the best I can. One thing I did is I put this transmission on here to make sure basically my pilot bearing and the input shaft of the transmission line up okay, and they're basically perfectly aligned. Obviously with the scatter shield being a little shorter than a 621, it's right in the right location, so just wanted to check that before I slap it all together. So what I've been doing is measuring for my hydraulic throwout bearing. So you want an air gap in between where the throwout bearing sits and the face of the clutch, basically where the fingers are. So I got 3.175 here, 2.430, so subtract those, get 0.745, and then 0.150 is the target air gap, get 0.595, divide by the 0.09 shims, and I got around 7, and then when you do the calculation you get 0.115. But I've been checking it in here with 7 in there, and it looks more like around 0.18, which is acceptable. You want it less than 0.200 and more than 0.100. So I don't want it too tight, because as the clutch wears, the fingers end up coming outward, which can obviously cause basically the throwout bearing to wear out because it'll be touching the fingers at all times. So I think I'm pretty much going to call it good at this point. So now I'm going to take this back off, get my actual line on here, and then finalize all the bolts. I'm going to do a continuation in this video of getting this transmission and everything installed. I have the LS motor in the car now, and given that I'm running that QuickTime scattershield, the transmission is pretty far forward, so you can see right here the shifter is pretty far in the tunnel. I should be able to just get kind of one of those shifters or shift handles that curves back and make it work. But for this, I got a cross member. This is for a T5, and what I'm going to need to do is take this provision and move it forward. So I measured from this surface, the mount is 1.3 centimeters forward. So I'm going to cut this basically off and then cut a little notch in here so I can get to my bolts and move this forward. So, obviously I want to move all these bolt provisions forward and allow myself to have access from the bottom. So I'm going to get to cutting this, and then once I kind of have it placed, I'll show you what that looks like. Definitely a nice spone cross member here. I will be painting it gloss black. Some of the bolt provisions on the car, unfortunately, are a little damaged, but I think I can get away with basically 3 on this side and 2 on this side. This one, I tried to fix it, but it seems like might be a little too far gone. I might try and weld a bolt in there or a nut in there, but we'll see. So I'm gonna get to work on this, and we'll see you guys in a few minutes. Kind of a wild thing to do to a cross member. So what I did is cut this piece out of it. So you saw what it looked like, and I'm basically moving it forward to this point. So the center line of this is 0.7 millimeters forward of this surface. So obviously gonna have to fill in some gaps. Got my steel getting created, and then once this is all forward, my plan is to make some brackets that close it out here and close it out here, and also close up this area and try and support it from the bottom to close this out. I'll probably close this in, close this side in as well. Should come out really nice and should be just as strong as it was. Kind of strange, the cross member had this in it, so I think you got a bolt that basically goes through this and then through this as well, which I think is kind of weird. So it should be better just to have this surface that the bolt goes through directly into that mount. Ladies and gents, we got her done. So got it moved forward, came out really good. I made sure to reinforce it on the sides. Almost looks like how it came. So I'm gonna get this painted gloss black. I'll put you on the time lapse for me spraying it, and then I'll show you what it looks like under the car, and I'll pretty much probably wrap up the video there. I might end up showing some of the installation of the master cylinder and the connection you have to make to the hydraulic throwout bearing. So once I make a little progress on those areas, we'll see you then. Made a lot of progress since I kind of filmed last on this clutch stuff. So I made a little bracket up here and got my clutch mounted, and the line that goes down, still need to kind of tuck everything out of the way of the headers, but I got it all working. So obviously got it attached to the clutch pedal and everything, and it does work. Confirm that it worked down there underneath. Feels pretty good, nice and light. Still need to get a shift handle for the Muncie, and kind of carve that out a little bit to make sure I can get some action on there. But one thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to grab it, but I basically made a little device that goes on here and allowed me to bleed it on my own. So before I wrap the video up, I just kind of want to show you, I basically use the regulator to regulate this air pressure down to around 5 psi. Then I had this little barb put on my air nozzle, and then I would thread this on, crack the bleeder down there, and then you could put that low air pressure in here and basically pressurize the system. So given that I had both the brakes and the clutch with the same reservoir setup, it allowed me to bleed them both easily. So we got this done. I'm just trying to kind of catch up on these videos. So clutch should be working. Obviously I haven't been able to turn the car on yet, but pretty confident that we're done there. And pretty easy to go underneath there, crack that bleeder line, and then just get that air out of the system. Otherwise these can be kind of hard to bleed, so I definitely wanted to come up with something that worked easily. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next one. bonus footage. I know it's tight, but you guys can see I got this cross member painted and it's holding the transmission, and I also got my torque arm connected to it, so I figured I'd show that to you before I wrapped it up. Looking good. Hey, thanks for stopping in at the Phantom Motorsports YouTube channel. If you like what you saw, give me a big thumbs up, and hopefully you're leaving with a bigger smile than you came in with.